We are emotional beings, first and foremost. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 33 of our BU 365-day challenge. To do one thing every day that improves us. This month, we are focusing on, or this segment of the annual challenge, we're focusing on the emotional aspects of our life. Remember the life framework, the 9 different areas and aspects of our life that we can divide it up into. And maybe by October, I will come up with 3 more areas that we want to emphasize. But for right now, we're just focusing on these 9, one each month. We did physical last segment or last month. And this segment, we are focusing on emotional. Why? Because February is kind of an emotional month for a lot of people. I've got my son's birthday, my granddaughter's birthday. We've got Valentine's Day, all kinds of things that make us think about emotions. Now, how do you feel about that statement that I made at the beginning? We are human beings, and we are first and foremost emotional beings. We're emotional beings, we're spiritual beings, we're physical beings, but we think with our brains and our intellect, and that's how we make decisions and choices. And we decide if we're going to buy something or not. We decide if we're going to be in a relationship with someone or not. And we think that it's all based on our logic and our thinking and our subjective analysis or our objective analysis of the situation. Guess what? Not true. And then bunches and bunches of scientific studies, and even the ancient Greeks, I think they're called rhetoricians or something. So back in Greek, they have something called pathos, which means people can be convinced to do something or manipulated into doing something based on their feelings alone. Maybe that's why there's so much fear in the media these days, because fear is apparently the strongest motivator and the strongest, and that makes sense, right? Back to the fight and flight days of our reptilian brains when, hey, if you're being chased by a tiger, you probably are going to run or find some way to defend yourself so that you can survive. So fear is probably one of the oldest and most built-in and inherent emotions that we have. So I did a bunch of research and I looked up because I was curious, how many emotions are there? Later on in this segment, we will talk about something called the emotional guidance system that I learned from Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks and Abraham Hicks and the teachings of Abraham, I think that's where it came from first, not sure, but it's all over the place, this emotional guidance system. Super powerful tool. I think we'll deal with it when we're talking about the SOAP framework this time through with respect to our emotions. That'll be one of the tools that we talk about in detail. But I got curious about, okay, well, what are the emotions? What do people categorize and think of as our primary emotions? And there's all kinds of graphics. You can Google it. And I'm sure I used to like when Google told you how many searches, and maybe it's only on our computers, not on our phones, how many searches came up in how much time, because I think that gives you an idea of how much volume and how many people are out there looking into a similar topic. But I looked up emotions. I'm going to grab my magnifying glass so I can see what it is. And of course, there were 3, 4, 5, 6, not 7, but then 8 main emotions or core emotions. And then there were a bunch of studies done. Now, we always need to keep in mind when somebody quotes statistics or says studies, etc., we want to sometimes, before we put a lot of weight into thinking that we're going to adopt those beliefs or have feelings about that information, we need to say, okay, well, where did this really come from? What was the study? Now, it seems this study was done on 800 men, and they came up from the University of California, Berkeley, with 27 different possible emotions. And I'm going to read those and share them because I thought it was interesting. But I noticed they specifically said that the study was done on 800 men, and they watched 2,000 videos. That was the foundation of this 27 different emotions. Okay, so what is considered the 8? And I'm going to say 8 because they come in pairs of primary emotions. And emotions can, there was something I was thinking about that. Anyway, I want to talk about number 1, what's the difference between emotions and feelings? Because we have both, but what's the difference? Emotions are our bodies are a they're our response, our physiological, I can't even say it, physiological response to stimulus, outside stimulus or inside stimulus, right? They come from our subconscious, and they're mostly an automatic response. We like to think that we have control over them, but they don't. Our emotions come first, followed by our feelings, because our feelings are our conscious acknowledgement and thought in response to the emotions that we're feeling in our body. And then after that comes our actual conscious thought, right? Because things appear, so our body senses things. Our bodies are like these amazing receptors, right, of energy, because emotions are just different forms of energy. And they sense that and receive messages, respond immediately, physiologically. And then our subconscious says, our subconscious brain is all about keeping us safe. So it's, do I need to run? Do I need to fight or flight? Do I need to do anything? And then that kicks in our feelings on a subconscious level. And then, and only then, does our conscious brain, if it's something that's urgent enough that our conscious needs to be aware of it, will our thinking, our actual conscious thought kick in, and we deal with the situation. So our actually conscious thought as human beings comes last in the thinking, feeling, or the emotions, feeling, and then the reaction process, right? Or the conscious thinking process. So what are these 8 emotions? And then I'll run through the list of 27. Our action item today, I'm going to tell you that right now, is share in one sentence how you feel about your emotions, or how, that's exactly what I mean to say. How do you feel about your emotions? And just one sentence. I feel, I'm not a very emotional person. I feel I'm a very emotional person. I feel whatever. I feel blank and about my emotions. And, I feel adamant. I feel nothing. I feel neutral. Whatever you want to say, I feel something about my emotions. That's our action item today. So what are these emotions that have been categorized by scientists unknown? The 8 are joy and sadness, acceptance and disgust, fear and anger, surprise and anticipation. These came up with these categories by Plutochus or something. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And then there's another study that says we actually experience 34,000 different emotions. And that was too many to read. So I settled on the list of, since like the 20 teens or so, supposedly there's 27 different emotions. And I'm going to read them because I thought they were very interesting. And I want you to maybe consider, as we go through this month, how many of these you experience on a regular basis. All right, here they are. Admiration, adoration, aesthetic appreciation, meaning, appreciating beauty or what's beautiful to you, amusement, anger, anxiety, awe, awkwardness, boredom, calmness, confusion, craving, disgust, empathetic pain, entrancement, excitement, fear, horror, interest, joy, nostalgia, relief, romance, sadness, satisfaction, sexual desire, and surprise. So I guess that doesn't surprise me as a man's list of things that would be the top 27 categories. And then, of course, these 27 can be divided down to 34,000 others. Why? Because each of us gets to define what adoration, amusement, fear, horror, interest, pain, entrancement, awe, what's adoration, what's the difference for you? Because we each individually define our emotions. We get to define what these different emotions and feelings are and how they respond in our body. And we'll talk about that later this segment too. So those are according to scientists, and I use scientists in air quotes on purpose because some of these studies, like I said, this 27 that came from the University of Berkeley that everybody on social media is adopting, or the big social media companies are sharing, it's only based on a study of 800 men. It's kind of like it takes 21 days to form a habit. One study, one scientific small, like it was on a really small group of people, study showed that in 21 days these people were able to do something. And then a motivational speaker picked it up and it went around and around and around. It's kind of like the telephone game. It gets twisted into now everybody kind of believes that it takes 21 days to form a habit. Bullpucky, by the way, we'll talk about that throughout the challenge as well. It's different for each of us. It depends on the habit, depends how motivated you are, it depends on all kinds of different factors, how many days it takes to form a new or a bad habit. Bad habits usually come like that, right? Me, it doesn't take anything for me to eat caramels, right? Eat sugar. It forms immediately. As soon as we have some sugar, as soon as we have some drugs, alcohol, different things, that immediately forms a bad habit in us if we're not careful. And good habits, sometimes they take a year to actually become a habit for us. All right, I'm getting off topic. Have an awesome day. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow for day 34 of our BU 365 Day Challenge. It's still about emotions. Have a great day.